War is horrible, and we all know that. There are few things as depressing as looking at images of dead soldiers or even worse, dead civilians caught in crossfire. But throughout history, there have been some wars that were necessary evils. He grew up as a gladiator and slave owned by a man named Lentulus, one of the most powerful men in Rome. However, Spartacus had big dreams for himself. He wanted more than to just fight in the Colosseum for the amusement of the crowds. The Huns were a nomadic people who lived on the steppes of Central Asia. The Mongol leader conquered much of Asia and Eastern Europe in the 13th century, leaving a trail of death and devastation in his wake. But Khan's story is more complex than that of a simple warmonger. Also, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. We would love to hear what you have to say. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. In fact, many historians argue that he was a brilliant military strategist, an administrator who laid the foundations for one of the largest empires in history. Born in 1160, Khan united the nomadic Mongol tribes and created a formidable fighting force. He went on to conquer the Khwarezmian Empire, China, Russia, and Poland. Along the way, he founded the Mongol Empire, which at its peak stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe. While Khan's methods were often brutal, he was a visionary leader who implemented innovative military tactics and administrative systems. He also promoted religious tolerance and trade along the Silk Road. After his death in 1227, his empire was divided among his successors. But it remained one of the largest and most powerful in history. Attila is said to have united them under his banner and led them on a series of devastating raids into Roman territory. According to legend, Attila's armies were unstoppable, and he was known as the Scourge of God. While there is some debate over the accuracy of these legends, there is no doubt that the Huns were a major force in Europe during the 5th century. They forced the Romans to make significant territorial concessions and paid a heavy toll on the continent's population. Attila's reign of terror is said to have ended in 453 when he died during his wedding night. Regardless of the truth behind the legends, Attila the Hun remains one of the most feared and revered warriors in history. So he escaped his master with a group of fellow slaves and started his own army. They soon attracted thousands of followers, mostly other slaves and poor Romans, who were fed up with living under the thumb of the rich elite. He was a French military and political leader who rose to prominence during the French Revolution and later led France in a series of successful military campaigns. Napoleon's victories brought him great fame, and he was eventually crowned Emperor of the French. However, his ambition ultimately led to his downfall. In 1814, he was forced to abdicate the throne and was exiled to the island of Elba. But he escaped and returned to power in 1815. This period of time is known as the Days. Napoleon's second reign was short-lived, however, and he was eventually defeated and exiled again, this time to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. Napoleon spent his final years writing his memoirs before dying in 1821. Though he is best known for his military campaigns, Napoleon's impact on history goes beyond his victories and defeats. He was a key player in the French Revolution and played a major role in shaping the course of modern Europe. Additionally, he was a brilliant military strategist and tactician, whose methods are still studied today. His victories against the Austrians at the battles of Caransebus and Caransebus established him as a brilliant general and set the stage for his future conquests. Moreover, Napoleon's legal code, the Napoleonic Code, is still in effect in many parts of the world today. Finally, Napoleon's defeat and exile marked the end of an era in European history. It signaled the end of the French Revolution and the beginning of a new age of conservatism. Together they went on a rampage across Italy, defeating the armies sent to stop them. Spartacus was not a general, but he was a skilled fighter and an inspirational leader. He gave the downtrodden and oppressed a reason to hope for a better future. Unfortunately, Spartacus and his army were eventually defeated and killed by the Roman army in 71 BC, but his rebellion showed the Romans what could happen if they didn't take care of their slaves and poor citizens. It inspired other slave rebellions and helped pave the way for the fall of the Roman Empire. If you want to learn more about this famous slave rebellion, check out our video here. And today we're going to look at 5 historical figures who changed the world for better or worse through war. Mao Zedong led China through some of the most turbulent times in its history, including the end of the Qing dynasty, the rise of Japanese imperialism, the Chinese Civil War, and the founding of the People's Republic of China. Mao was born in 1893 and joined the Communist Party. In 1921, he quickly rose through the ranks of the party and became one of its leaders during the Second United Front against the Japanese. After the Second World War, Mao led the Communists in a civil war against the Nationalists. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Communists won the war and took control of mainland China in 1949. Mao's victory was due to a number of factors, including the Communists' willingness to use violence to achieve their goals, their ability to win over the support of the peasantry, and their skill in propaganda. In the years following the Communist victory, Mao continued to be a major force in Chinese politics. He led the country through the Great Leap Forward, a disastrous attempt to transform China from an agricultural to an industrial economy, and the Cultural Revolution, a violent campaign to purge Chinese society of its traditional values and institutions. Mao died in 1976, but his legacy continues to be felt in China today. Whether you view him as a hero or a villain, there is no doubt that Mao Zedong was one of the most important figures of the 20th century. 5. Spartacus. Spartacus was born into slavery around 111 BC in the Roman province of Thrace, which is now northern Greece and Bulgaria. 4. Mao Zedong. 3. Attila the Hun. Attila the Hun is a legendary warrior who is said to have terrorized Europe in the 5th century. 2. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is a name synonymous with war and destruction. 1. Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte is one of the most well-known figures in history. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any new videos.